Hello again, everybody. Welcome back to Backstage Bimbo TV. My name is Allison Rouse, your most notorious groupie, and author of We've Got Tonight, The Life and Times of Notorious Groupie, me. Hope everybody's doing fantastic as usual. Welcome back. For those of you who are just stumbling on my page, I'm a notorious groupie, best known for John Entwistle of The Who, but really best known for a whole lot of others. And a whole lot of others today is going to include some cocktails and rocktails with David Lee Roth and Poison. Woo woo! This is going to be, doesn't David Lee look really hot here? So this is going to be May 24th of 1988. Like I always say, May of 1988 was such a busy month, I'm surprised I could walk to by June. So today's cocktail is going to be the pink balls, because as we all know by now, I've got some balls on me, and today you're gonna hear another story as to why. All right, folks, so love me some whipped cream. Everybody grab your pink balls, kick your feet up, and let's have some cocktails and rocktails, shall we? Cheers, big ears. Woo. Actually, not bad. I thought that was going to be disgusting and gross because it's tequila, rose, Kahlua, and whipped cream. But actually, not bad at all. Okay, so we all know my first rock star was David Lee Roth. I lost my virginity to him. Wasn't the last time I saw him. I've seen him, and I saw him another time after this. I believe on the Crazy, I know there was this show and the Crazy from the Heat show. This picture of David Lee was taken the day when we met in Kansas City, not the exact day, but one of the days we met. So, and our friend Richie Barron, who basically kind of wallpapered Kristen and I, God, my bangs, kind of wallpapered Kristen and I into our groupie status. Like, he was with so many bands, Def Leppard, David Lee Roth, and Poison, and he was the guy that everybody liked because he always knew all the girls, where to get drugs, anything. Richie was just one of those cool ass guys. God rest your soul, brother. But so of course we knew going up the night before Richie was going to be there. We could have anything we want. It was going to be carte blanche. Well, as much as I adored David Lee Roth, Poison was the band du jour, because boy, they were a hot group of guys, lipstick and all. So I wanted Bret Michaels. So we go up to the Marriott, Kristen and I do, and we go to Richie's room and we're hanging out, and he's like, "Who do you want, ladies?" I said, "I want Bret Michaels." "Well, isn't David Lee gonna be pissed? I think he's expecting you." He said he was. "Well, we'll see how the night plays out, but I want Bret Michaels." Yeah. And I was wearing lipstick a little bit lighter, you know, it was the 80s, so the 60s lipstick, which it was really light, kind of pinkish. I was wearing that lipstick, and he was like, "No." Richie's like, "No, you got to get rid of that lipstick. Bret hates that dead-looking color." So I had some bright pink with me, put on the bright pink, fixed myself up. Richie made a phone call. And again, you know, I'm not saying anything about my looks. I'm saying I wasn't an ugly girl. I was a hot girl. And plus, I had a great attitude. And I'm not ashamed to say that. So, and knowing Richie, yeah, of course, we had a little more carte blanche than the average groupie in Salt Lake City at the time, or maybe at other places. So he makes a phone call to Bret. He's like, "Hey, I've got this hot girl." I was blonde at the time. He's like, "Yep, she's blonde. She's hot. Let's bring," you know. They were staying at another hotel, so we went down to the Hilton and met up with Bret. And we, you know, after having a couple drinks, maybe imbibing in a little bit of drugs. I know he smoked weed. I can't remember if Richie had cocaine. He did like his cocaine. But so we go down to the Hilton Hotel. He knocks on Bret's door. "The housekeeping," because we do that sometimes as a joke. "The housekeeping, click, 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 click." So all of a sudden, you see the door open up, and there's Bret Michaels, nothing but a towel. My 17-year-old self was like, fuck yeah! Hells yeah! He's already halfway ready to go, bagged and tagged, shooting fish in the barrel. Because, certain roadies they make a recommendation, or, you hear about certain girls, and they had already heard about us in Salt Lake City, how Salt Lake City was the best groupie scene in the world. It was the groupie capital of the world. Absolutely 100% was in the 80s. So they want to try out the best groupies. Who knows the best groupies? The road crew, because they go with a lot more bands. And at the time, Gmail, as we knew it back then, groupie mail, was just emerging, where bands would fax each other if they knew what hotels they were at on the road, and a lot of people did. They would fax each other different groupies' numbers. They tried pictures, but, faxes back then, they just really pictures came out as big black blobs. Didn't do any groupie any favor. So, Brett had heard about us. Richie comes in. Kristen comes in. We talk for a minute. We're like, okay. I'm like, okay, you guys gotta go. Bye. Bye. So Brett and I, we're all just hanging out, talking, doing whatever we're doing. He didn't really drink, because at the time I didn't really see him drink at all in the hotel room, because he has diabetes, so I don't know his drinking habits or whatever. I'm sure he's had a few drinks in his lifetime. Like I said, we had kind of smoked a little bit, talked for a while, hung out. He's still in the towel. Well, he comes over, we're talking, and I'm like, hell yeah. Bret Michaels, hi daddy. Hi daddy. I'm getting all 70s porn star on him, doing the thing. And we start kissing. I'm like, okay, not a bad kisser. Passionate, exciting. I'm kissing Bret Michaels. Oh, yeah, I'm kissing Bret Michaels. Because, 1988, this was like, Poison was the guys to get from groupies. And even on David Lee Roth's tour, if you had a pass for Poison, you were not allowed to go around David Lee Roth. You were to be kicked out the second David Lee Roth went on that stage. You were to go back to there were these rules, because Poison was usurping all the groupies from David Lee Roth, and David Lee Roth didn't like that. David Lee did not like that at all. So, what does he do? He makes these rules. If you're hanging out with Poison, you cannot be with David Lee Roth or his band. If you're hanging out with David Lee Roth and you try and go meet Poison, you're off the program. That's how it was. So, and Richie had explained this to me. So knowing that, I'm kissing Brett. We're getting all crazy. He's taking off my white leather jacket and pulling down my white little satin dress. And we're getting all heavy, going at it. Oh, he's got a great chest. I look at his cock. Not shabby there, Mr. Michaels. Not shabby at all. So we're going out, and he just backs me up onto the bed and kind of playfully tosses me onto it, and we're having a good time, and woohoo! And he goes down on me, and I'm all excited that he's going down on me, and I'm waiting for it to get him really to get going. I'm waiting. Still waiting. 5 minutes later, still fucking waiting for this to get good. I mean, you guys, seriously. It was like, I don't know what it was like, because I've never had my pussy eaten that bad in my life. It was just bad. And there was nothing wrong down there. I'm pristine. I've always been pristine. I eat my pineapple. I make sure things are pleasant. Go to the doctor, everything. Make sure I'm all good. He thought he was doing such a great job. He's like, I'm like, oh, God. And I did say that. I was like, oh, God. Out loud, not in an, oh, God, oh, yeah, kind of way. It was an, oh, God, no, this can't be happening kind of way. So, I did what I could. I did the only thing I could do. Tap, 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 tap. Excuse me, sir. He's like, yeah, baby, you ready for me? I'm like, no. I'm like, it's just not working out like I thought it would. And he's like, what? I'm like, it's not working out like I thought it would. It's just not doing anything. I'm sorry. You know, I got up and just, he was pissed. He was like, what? He's like, I've never had any complaints. I'm like, maybe you haven't done it with someone who knows better. I don't know. Not a lot of girls got their pussy ate back then, I guess. I don't know. But it was like, I could have rubbed up against a post and it would have been more fun. With barbed wire. And it would have been more fun. So all these women that were, you know, I never really watched The Rock of Love. I did stop and watch a couple episodes. And all those girls fighting over him, all I could think of was, why? I never even got to his dick, so I don't know how that feels. Like I said, it was a pretty one. It looked like it would be nice and good sized, but I couldn't keep going forward with the guy who's didn't know what his mouth was really for. And it's not for singing. It was everything but a good time. Nothing. Not a good time had here. So I made my excuses. I'm like, you know what? I'm just not feeling good. It's just not doing anything for me. He was pissed off. He's like, fine, leave. I'm like, okay, after I use the bathroom. Went in the bathroom, did a little cleanup, said, let me use your phone, called Richie and Kristen in his room. I said, I'm on my way back. They're like, that was quick. I'm like, I'll tell you about it when I get there. I'm like, Richie, needless to say, call David Lee. Tell him I'm on my way, that I was just running late. He's like, what? He's like, weren't you with Brett? I'm like, no. He's like, oh, Lordy. He's like, if she's walking out on this guy, something went wrong. So, get in the hotel van, the courtesy van, go back to the Marriott, meet up with Kristen and Richie in his room. He's like, I tell him what happened. I'm like, God, that was the worst. It was so boring. Like, watching paint dry was more fun than this. Yeah. So that's where the pink balls came in. Because, I mean, what other girls, we've watched Rock of Love, not a single one of them had any balls to go, hey, dude. No, this ain't right. This ain't right, because it's by Michael. And by the time that shit came on, I mean, Poison had fallen down the ranks, I guess. I mean, they weren't a very big band. So, yeah. Go back. End up hooking up with David Lee. He comes down, meets us. We go out to dinner. We have a few drinks, because we got to the hotel around 4 o'clock. Was at Brett's room by 4:30 in the afternoon, and back at the hotel at the Marriott by 5:15, and I'm not even kidding. So we all, David Lee, Richie, Kristen, I believe Steve Vai, and maybe Billy Sheehan, we all went out to dinner. God. So like I said, I've hung out with David Lee Roth quite a few times. And I love David Lee Roth because he's one of the coolest people. Like, he has such an open heart and mind. And so what I was thinking, kind of trying to defect to Bret Michaels, no. But what he didn't know, we had to keep it secret from him that I had ditched Bret Michaels. Because there was that whole Poison versus David Lee Roth and his band for the groupies thing. And that was a real thing. That really happened. So we're hanging out, we're having a good time, we have dinner. Do the usual night before. Stay the night with David Lee. None the wiser. Used the shower sex thing again. That comes in real handy when I've got my pink balls. So, yeah. So we go to the next night of the show. Watch the show, have a blast. Now, David Lee used to have these after show parties, and his guests were hand-picked by his manager and by certain road crew guys. Richie being one of them. So, of course, I'm with him. Richie was Kristen defected over to Steve Vai. And, yeah. So we go into the after show party. And David Lee had great after show parties. It was music, food, booze, whatever you wanted. And yes, the green M&Ms. There was an old wives' tale about Van Halen only allowing green M&Ms in their dressing room. And this is true. David Lee Roth still only had green M&Ms and, with the booze and stuff. So Kristen and I are the first in this room. And he had this really great stereo system hooked up to some smaller PA, speakers. And it was the first time I ever heard Salt and Pepper. With David Lee Roth. He was playing this whole album because he had just heard it and loved it. It wasn't even really out yet. So we're hearing, Shah, push it, na 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 na, push it good. Oh yeah, baby, we're gonna. I'm with David Lee Roth, and he does know how to push it good. And trust me, I've never had to tap that motherfucker on the head, going, "Sorry, darling." Because I'm sorry, if it's bad, it's bad. I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna try not to hurt your feelings. But needless to say, we didn't really run into Poison because there was this, the roadie roadblock, cock blocking. Couldn't go over to their dressing room on their side. Couldn't go over to David Lee Roth if you were on one side. So if you were on one side of the fence, you stayed on that side of the fence. So we're coming into the room, we're hanging out. Kristen and I are getting in the mood, listening to Salt and Pepper, eating some green M&Ms, grabbing a drink, and here comes the rival groupies of Trudy and Lisa Susan, whatever her name is. We've talked about her with the zipper pants. She always wore those zipper leathers. It's like, good Lord, what do they smell like? No wonder you got rejected. So here they come, and they see Kristen and I, and they're just like, the fuck are they in here? Well, Lisa Susan always had a thing with David Lee Roth. Not with him, but for him. And she had hung out backstage before and thought maybe this is the time she would get him. So here they go. Here comes, the rest of the girls come in, and Kristen and I we're minding our own business. We're just talking. We're dancing. We're like, woo, this is cool shit. Steve Vai comes in the room. Richie's been in there kind of taking care of us, making sure we have everything we need. He's making sure that there's wine bottles around the room because they can strategically move from wine bottle to wine bottle to talk to different groupies at different tables and stuff. Yeah, things are set up more than you think psychologically backstage. It's crazy. So, and then David Lee comes in, and here comes that Lisa Susan girl in her little zipper pants. Going up to him, hi David Lee, hi David, remember me? Hey Dave. Getting all chummy with him. He's like, no, I don't remember you. And David, he doesn't put up with this kind of bullshit. He doesn't play these games, and I love this about him. He's just one of the most, like I said, open-hearted, and he's going to stand up for what right. He's going to tell you to fuck off. And he told Susan to fuck off because she was like, oh, you're going over to that little disease bag? Or she called me something like that little bag of herpes or something like that. And he was like, no. He's like, she's clean. He's like, and how dare you sit here and talk shit about her? He's like, yeah, I'm going over to her because I've been with her and I'm going to continue to be with her. He's like, and if you don't like it, there's the door. Be nice or leave. And her and Trudy stormed out. And the rest of the girls gave up on David Lee, but we're going for the rest of the band. But Steve and David, the hottest ones in the band, were already bagged and tagged. But so here we are, 1988, still trying to deal with, this whole groupie rivalry bullshit. Like I said, Kristen and I were just minding our own business. We were not talking shit about anybody. But I'm so glad David Lee Roth stood up for me. And this is how the boys were. They stood up for me all the time. If the girls were talking shit, there's the door. They'll show it to you guys. Because we were cool chicks. We were all hot. We were all fun. We didn't talk shit about anybody. We didn't sit around talking about, we love your music. Can I suck the sweat out of your shirt, Jimmy Page? No. Of course we loved the music. We wouldn't be there. We were the girls who just made them feel like the men they were off the stage. And they're always going to defend that because that's where their true friends were, off the stage. We weren't trying to get you for any other reason besides we were horny little girls. And if we were going to be sluts, might as well go big or go home. Trust me, with David Lee Roth, I went big from day one. Yep. And he went big on me again that night. And trust me, I did not stop him ever once. Ever once. I love me that David Lee. He's kind of like the creepy uncle these days that you wouldn't sit your kids next to at the table on Thanksgiving or Christmas. But back then, this David Lee. And you know what? David Lee still has the same heart and soul he's always had. I'll still adore him. Will I sleep with him ever again? No. But it's not my reasons why I won't sleep with him again. It's like David Lee said, When it comes to sex, a hole is a hole. When it comes to love, to chemistry, you never turn your back on that. You can walk away from any hole like you did earlier. And he was discussing this about Susan because he's like, when you have a connection, when you know you're with someone cool, you're with that soul. And he's like, baby, you're the soul. He's like, that's why I hang out with you. He's like, the package is great, but the soul. And he lives true to that to this day. You'd all be surprised. He's been in a relationship for a long time. Because two souls met, and God love him. I wish I had that kind of love. So, there we go. There was my second time with David Lee Roth. Still a great lover. Still a great... I mean, he was never boring in bed. Flipped me around like a damn rag doll. And I love that. When the guy takes control and he's just flipping you around, and he's making sure, you know, you're getting in things that you like too, and he's listening to you in bed. Because if he's not listening to you in bed, he's not going to listen to you anywhere else. Take that to heart, ladies. If your man is not listening to you in bed, either go into couples therapy or get the fuck out. Because that's the simplest place to listen to somebody is in bed. It's so easy. It's simple. And if he can't do that for you, then you're not a human being. And with David Lee Roth, I was always a lady, always a human being, and he always stuck up for me, and I so appreciate that of him. And he still will to this day. I love you, David Lee. You were my first. Didn't know that, did you? No, David Lee didn't know that. And like I said, none of them knew my age. Kind of had that look on his face. What? How old were you? Anyway, so there we go. There's my little David Lee Roth. Ladies, if you want to go be with Bret Michaels, oh, just pass. I can't imagine he would be any better these days. Maybe, maybe not, but once my dick went limp with him, it stays limp. Just, it's a dangly. And no, I don't have a dick. I've got an innie. Always had an innie. Born a girl. Raised a woman. Big woman. No, not big. God, I just keep digging my hole. Anyways, I go into these rabbit holes. So there you go, guys. If you want to hear more, this is just a stupid little story. You want to hear more rock and roll history, more stories about big bands like David Lee Roth, like Metallica, like the Scorpions, like Vinnie Paul from Pantera, like more from Robert Plant or Jimmy Page. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the like button. Hit my bell so you get notified for my cocktails and rocktails. And don't forget, I'm doing my midweekly bonus so you can get to know me better. My midweek bonus episodes are all just about my life, aspects of my life along the way of my rock and roll journey. So hit the subscribe, hit the bell, hit the like button, and don't forget I do have merchandise. It's down in the description. Hit the link. I've got some really funny t-shirts, and I've got my Backstage Bimbo merch, so hit them up. All right. Thanks to everybody who's supporting me. Again, I always say thank you to Jen Dawson. She keeps my head straight. When I want to give up on this, she's the one that pulls my head out my ass. So go like her and subscribe to her at Jen TV, guys. She is an awesome rock chick. Supermodel, gorgeous. Gorgeous. Great tits on her, too. Love them. Anyway, all right, guys. See you on the flip side.